Schultz. And you probably have seen this on TV. If you have, give me a thumbs up. Yeah. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I watched that a long time ago.
All right. So this starts out and it says it was a crisp autumn day. But it wasn't just any autumn day. You've seen this on TV?
Yeah, a long
That's
time ago.
awesome. Well,
Yeah,
then listen up so you can remember it. It was Halloween, and Charlie Brown was busy raking leaves while Snoopy was busy playing in them.
Good grief.
Said Charlie Brown when Snoopy messed up his leaf pile. Yes, sir.
I got a question. Why would Charlie be playing in the leaves while he's raking them?
Why would Snoopy be?
Yeah.
Well, because it's fun. All right.
Yeah, you want to
Now, Lucy stopped by with the football. How about practicing some plays, Charlie Brown? Lucy said. I'll hold the ball, and you come running and kick it. You must think I'm not smart, said Charlie Brown. I know that you want me to come running up, and at the last minute, you're going to pull the football away, and I'm going to fall flat on my back. Have you all seen that when she does that?
Yes.
Yeah. This time you can trust me, said Lucy. Should he trust her?
No.
No.
Not until you just
All right. Back here. Charlie Brown didn't believe her. No, said Charlie Brown. No, no, and no. Please, Charlie Brown, please, pleaded Lucy. I have a signed document testifying that I will not pull the ball away. Charlie Brown grabbed the piece of paper and he read it. Well, if you have a signed document, he said, you can't go wrong. So I guess I'm going to get to kick a football today.
I get to kick a Snoopy.
And with that, Charlie Brown backed up and he charged, and just as he was about to kick the ball, Lucy pulled it away, and Charlie Brown fell back on his back. Ah! He screamed in pain and frustration. Lucy picked up the piece of paper. Funny thing, she said, this document was never notarized,
Good grief.
said Charlie Brown.
He said good grief.
He did. Meanwhile, Linus was writing an important letter. Dear Great Pumpkin, I'm looking forward to your arrival on Halloween night. Charlie Brown approached his friend and said, what are you writing, Linus? Well, it's the time of the year when I write a letter to the Great Pumpkin, answered Linus. The who, what now? Said Charlie Brown, looking confused. And Linus said,
On Halloween night, Great Pumpkin rises out of the pumpkin patch and flies through the air with his bag of toys for all the children.
How is he talking? Because it's like a little
It's like a little book that actually has buttons that makes characters talk.
it does. Now, Charlie Brown left and Linus kept writing his letter. I know you get discouraged because more people believe in Santa Claus than in you. Santa does get more publicity and you might be number 2, but that just means you need to try harder. Just then Lucy appeared. Oh, brother, moaned Lucy. Linus, are you writing a letter to that pumpkin again? Linus nodded.
She rude.
She is rude. I am the laughing stock of the neighborhood every year because my little brother writes a letter to the Great Pumpkin, said Lucy, and she stormed off. Just then Sally appeared as Linus was writing his letter. Be brave, guys. I know you can handle it. What are you doing, Linus? Asked Sally. Linus hesitated and then answered, well, I'm writing a letter to the Great Pumpkin. He rises out of the pumpkin patch on Halloween and brings toys to all the children everywhere. Y'all ever heard of the Great Pumpkin?
Yeah.
Before, outside of Charlie Brown?
I know who that is.
All right. Oh, Linus, said Sally. Sally, would you like to sit with me in the pumpkin patch on Halloween night and wait for the Great Pumpkin together? Sally said.
Oh, Linus, you say the cutest things. I'd love to.
Because she loves him.
Linus went to mail his letter. Really, Linus, said Lucy. Just how do you think you're going to reach that mailbox anyway? You can't possibly be tall enough, and I'm not going to help
His
you.
little blanket.
Linus whipped his blanket in the air, hooked the corner of the handle, pulled open the mailbox, and then he sent the letter flying through the air. Lucy watched as it slid into the open mailbox. Like that, replied a triumphant Linus, and he walked away. Just then, Charlie Brown ran up, waving a piece of paper in hand. Hey, said Charlie Brown, I got an invitation to Violet's Halloween party. Lucy rolled her eyes and said, oh, brother, that must have been a mistake. There she is being muted. Now, Lucy, do you know if Linus is going to go to the party, asked Sally. Lucy sighed. Probably not. That block-headed brother of mine will be out in the pumpkin patch making a fool of himself just like he does every year. maybe there really is a great pumpkin, said Sally. But he's never come. Do I get to go trick-or-treating with you? Sally asked her big brother. Sure, Sally, said Charlie Brown. Oh boy, said Sally. How do we do it again? It's simple, Lucy said. All you have to do is walk up to a house, ring the doorbell, and when they open the door, you say,
Trick or treat.
Sally looked suspicious. Are you sure? And then they just give you candy? Oh, good grief, cried Lucy. Of course this is legal. All right, everyone met at Lucy's house in their costumes. A person should always pick a costume in direct contrast to one's own personality, she said, and then she put on her witch mask. Lucy looked at Charlie Brown and said, really? What are you supposed to be anyway?
Aw.
Charlie Brown responded, I'm a ghost, but I had a little trouble with the scissors.
So he cut multiple holes.
Somebody pointed out to me that a nine-eyed ghost is kind of scary. Now, a moment later, Snoopy walked by dressed up for Halloween.
He's a pilot to go fly on his face.
Why do you always want to fly?
He loves being a pilot. What is he supposed to be? Asked Lucy. Well, he's a World War I pilot, said Charlie Brown. Now I've heard everything, said Lucy. All right, let's go trick-or-treating and then head over to Violet's for the party. Everyone got their bags? The trick-or-treaters passed Linus, who was settled in the pumpkin patch, waiting for the great pumpkin. Have you come to sing pumpkin carols with me? Asked a hopeful Linus. Oh, good grief, said Lucy. And she threw her hands in the air and said to Sally, are you coming with us or not? Sally looked back and forth between Linus and her friends, and finally she went and sat down by Linus. I'm glad you decided to stay with me, said Linus. You really think he's going to come, right? Said Sally. And Linus repeated.
On Halloween night, Great Pumpkin rises out of the pumpkin patch and flies through the air with his bag of toys for all the children.
Poor Linus, he kind of breaks my heart. Meanwhile, the trick-or-treaters were starting their rounds in the neighborhood. Each time they opened the door, everyone cried,
Trick or treat!
Could I have an extra piece of candy for my brother? Said Lucy, flashing a toothy grin. He couldn't come with us because he's sitting in a pumpkin patch waiting on the great pumpkin.
Oh my god.
It was kind of nice of her, wasn't it, though? She got him some candy even though he's not there.
Yeah.
The trick-or-treaters worked their way through the neighborhood.
just got rocks.
After every house, they stopped to see what they'd gotten. It's so embarrassing to have to ask for extra candy for my brother, said Lucy as she looked through her bag, but it looks like I've got 5 pieces of candy for him. I got a fudge bar, said Violet, and a pack of gum, said Peppermint Patty. A rock, said Charlie Brown. Not again.
He only got rocks. He had like a metal ingot.
What do you say?
Good grief.
Good grief.
No one noticed that Snoopy was missing. Snoopy had climbed back on top of his doghouse, pretending it was an airplane. Rat-a-tat-tat. The World War I flying ace fired his machine guns. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat. The Red Baron fired back. Curse you, Red Baron. The brave pilot went down with his plane. The World War I flying ace sneaked off into the night behind enemy lines. When everyone finished trick-or-treating, they walked to Violet's party, and they passed the pumpkin patch again. On their way, Violet said, has the great pumpkin been by yet? Has he?
Nope.
No. You missed trick-or-treating, and now you're missing the Halloween party, said Peppermint Patty. Sally stepped forward and said, you all think you're so smart. You just wait. The great pumpkin is going to come. Linus does know what he's talking about. And with that, the kids went to Violet's party. Oh,
Daddy.
poor Sally and Linus. All right, at the party, everyone started to partake in the festivities. They were carving pumpkins and dancing and having a good time. And they were getting ready to bob for apples. Get out of my way, said Lucy, stepping up to the barrel. I'll show you how it's done. After a few seconds, Linus pulled up her head out of the bucket, but instead of just pulling up an apple, she pulled up a beagle.
What?
Gross! Ew! Cried Lucy. My lips touched dog lips.
They're kissing.
Later that night at the pumpkin patch, Sally and Linus were still waiting when all of a sudden they heard a noise.
I hear the great pumpkin.
Nope.
There he is. There he is. It's the great pumpkin. He's rising up out of the pumpkin patch.
Linus was so excited that he fainted. Within seconds, he came back to his senses and he said, "What happened? Did I miss it? Did he leave us toys?" Uh-oh. "I was robbed," Sally yelled. "Halloween is over, and I missed trick-or-treating, and I missed the party, and you kept me out here all night long waiting for the great pumpkin, and the only thing that came was a..."
Dog.
Snoopy.
Mhm.
Or a dog. Whatever you call
"When the great pumpkin does come, I'll put in a good word for you," Linus yelled at Sally, but she was already stomping off. "Oh, great pumpkin," moaned Linus, "where are you?" Later that night, Lucy woke up, looked at her clock, and went to check on her brother. He was not in his room, so she went outside and she found him sleeping in the pumpkin patch. She picked him up and carried him home and tucked him into bed. It was a nice thing to do.
That's my sister.
The next morning, Charlie Brown and Linus met up. "Well, another Halloween has come and gone, and all I got was a bag full of rocks," said Charlie Brown. "I guess the great pumpkin never showed for you either, huh, Linus?" But Linus said,
Waiting for the great pumpkin isn't stupid. Just wait until next year, Charlie Brown. You'll see. I'll find a pumpkin patch that's real sincere. And I'll wait until the great pumpkin rises up with his bag of toys for all the children. Just you wait, Charlie Brown. You'll see.
"Who knows? Maybe next year." There's something kind of great about how much Linus believes, isn't there? He breaks my heart a little bit, though, too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bane, for filming. We can turn it off. Bye, friends at home.